Huh?
Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Happy Friday, and welcome to A to Z Sports Live, streaming live on YouTube. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! Might look light, but we heavy though. Coming up today, it is Friday. It's Fan Friday. We're pulling out the mailbag again. We got Patrick Nosey Walker in the building. Should be a good one. And we have the most electrifying mailbag segment in all of sports entertainment. Yes, indeed. We got some good questions from the nation. Me and Pat will answer a couple of those questions. I will answer a couple of those questions. And of course, we got the phone line, man, 351-999-3787 for you guys to call in on this beautiful Friday, man. I am jazzed up. I'm hype. I'm ready to go. Got the Bomb Squad in the building. Good morning.
Bomb Squad!
How y'all doing this morning, man? I feel great, man. Got some family down here to visit, to see the little one. Got a nice little weekend planned. It has been fairly chill in Cowboys land. No drama to discuss. Well, you could always make up drama, but that's not what we do here. So, like I said, if you missed that, we do have Patrick coming through for the scientific method, and we'll pick his brain, or let me say this, we'll dive into the science of the Cowboys schedule and get a couple updates. We do have some updates on some injured players as well. Hey, who you taking the cousin walk? I can't wait for that too, by the way, Swain. I do miss that a little bit. Not having the cookout. I got to find a way to integrate the cookout in the offseason. Help me out with that. Hit me up on Twitter, Skywalker Steele. We'll find a way to integrate the cookout into the offseason. But it is kind of cool to have different segments throughout the year. It keeps you guys coming around. So, you know. And as you saw today in the thumbnail, it says scheme or talent, hence to stay scheming. So we're going to talk about that. That's a question that is in the mailbag. We'll detail that a little bit and a couple other good questions too. So let's go ahead, get to this roundup. And then out of that, the top of the hour, we got Patrick No C Walker, y'all.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time.
It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you.
Let me talk to you a little bit more about this schedule. Now, y'all know I'm not a betting man per se. Like, I'll do the daily fantasy thing during the season, you know. I can't say their name. I can't say that. Underdog. We had Underdog, you know, Underdog, Prize Picks, all those guys. But DraftKings has the Cowboys favorite in an overwhelming number of games. 14 of the 17 games the Cowboys are favored in. Now, obviously, things can change. Injuries happen. Teams make trades. Not the Cowboys. I mean, I ain't saying we don't make trades. But other teams add players. Not the Cowboys. I'm saying that because they don't really do. Other teams may bring in somebody, coaching changes, etc., momentum, all that could change. But 14 of the 17 games, is that good? Betting people. I'm talking to the betting people here. People that do this thing, not for a living, but more than I do. I don't bet. Is that good, or are they toying with us? Are they trying to take your money? Is this one of those things where, well, the Cowboys, you know, everybody's going to bet against them or for them? I don't know how that works. I don't dive into the betting scene in that way. But I do know this. Most odd makers have the Cowboys over under around 10.5 games. And every year, an overwhelming amount of fans, whether they're Cowboy fans or not, bet the under. And for the last 3 years, it's been the over. And I know with the offseason, by the way, this isn't the first offseason the Cowboys have done basically nothing. And they've come away a playoff team. They've come away winning 12 games. So y'all know how I feel. Y'all know where I stand on this team in general. But I do think we are in the lowest of lows because of what happened in the playoffs and then not doing anything. And then you have all these contracts not being signed. So I think the sentiment around Cowboys fans is, man, this team, they suck. And then camp will get here, season will get here, the Cowboys will win double-digit games. That's usually how it works. So while I don't think they're going to be 14-3, it doesn't shock me that they're favored in a lot of games because they are still a very talented team. It is, for the Cowboys, it's not about the talent. It's not about the regular season. Nonetheless, the only games they are not favored in, week 1 against the Browns, they're a 1-point underdog. The Niners game is not listed. And then the Eagles game, week 17, they're a 2-point dog. So, again, betting people, is this good? Y'all tell me. I am not a betting man. But if I was a betting man, I would bet that the best guy covering the team for the Cowboys is Patrick No C Walker down there at DallasCowboys.com as we welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. How you like that one, Pat?
Drop science.
You flatter me, brother.
Good morning, good sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you, my friend?
I am fired up, man. It's Friday. The schedule was released. And usually when that happens, I feel like I know the league year starts in March, but once you get the actual schedule, you know when and where and how, the times, to me, it's go time, baby.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously you have the spree of free agency and, you have the NFL draft, which is another offseason Super Bowl. And I'm not going to equate this to that, but as far as starting points are concerned, I think this is the official starting point for me in my mind of any coming season, because like you said, not only do you know the opponents, because we know the opponents and the where, so we know the who and the where effective, in early February, late January, but now we know when, which means we know how things are going to line up for the Cowboys, what's going to be the biggest challenge, what's the biggest stretch, when's the bye week. So you really get to start dissecting where they need to dominate. Obviously, they need to dominate the whole season, but realistically, what are the tough stretches, the stretches where maybe not so tough. So, yeah, this is where it really starts.
Let's put a pin in that one real quick, because I definitely want to dive into the science of the schedule, because you broke it down. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a schedule breakdown like that. So kudos to you, sir. And I promise y'all I'm not lying. I'll put the link in the description for y'all to go watch or read later. But it is an extremely detailed one, and we kind of want to get Pat's general thoughts on it in general. So if that's okay with you, let's put a pin in that real quick, Pat.
Yeah, man. Hit pause on it. Let's do it. Let's go.
So the last couple days, or was it a few days ago, you guys were able to speak to all of the assistants. By the way, I absolutely love when y'all do that in the offseason, because we don't get a chance to hear from them. And we got a chance to hear from everybody. There was a guy, I didn't even know he was on the team. And seriously, I don't even remember his name, but he seems new. I don't know. Maybe he's been here forever. But you guys were able to talk to assistants. You got some updates on some key players, or a key player and a promising player in Trayvon Diggs and John Stevens Jr. Can you update Cowboys Nation on that in case they missed it?
Yeah, 100%. And if they did miss it, that means they're not following me on Twitter at Voice of the Star. And if you're not, then, I mean,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? Right? It's like not watching X-Men 97. Like, get your life together. So I was curious about the injuries when we were talking to the assistant coaches. And first and foremost, I walked up to Al Harris and I was asking him, how things are going in the assistant coaching role. But then I asked him about the progress of Trayvon Diggs. Now, specifically, I asked him if Diggs was on track and on schedule to be on the field to start training camp in late July. And he stopped short of saying that, which respectfully I get that, because that is the job of Britt Brown and his training staff. But he was very optimistic, Al Harris was. He said that Trayvon Diggs is on schedule, he looks good, and that he doesn't see that there would be, barring any setbacks, he doesn't believe there'd be a reason that Trayvon is not on the field at some point in training camp, maybe as early as the start of training camp. We'll see how that goes. But Al was very, very excited about the progress of Trayvon Diggs. So that's fantastic news for the Dallas Cowboys to get him back on the field and get him back with a version of DaRon Bland that is not only now a breakout player, but is one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL and a record-setting historic defensive back. So good news on Trayvon Diggs' front. I spoke to Lunda Wells, Cowboys tight ends coach, asked him about John Stevens Jr., the progress there. And he actually said that John Stevens is, quote-unquote, ahead of schedule. Also confirmed what my eyes were telling me, that John Stevens was passing the eye test. As I saw him walk around the facility, he does, in fact, look bigger, no diddy, than he did last training camp before he got injured. Now, keep in mind, for those like yourself who were at training camp, John Stevens was more lanky, slender. He was tall, but he was more lanky, slender, didn't really have the muscle mass. He has muscle mass now, which is impressive on his build. So as long as he maintains the athleticism that made him a training camp favorite and made him all but a lock to make the final roster before he tore his ACL, putting on that mass makes him that much more dangerous. So those are the updates on both John Stevens, which is promising because he's going to make some serious waves on that tight end depth chart. And then you have to wonder, how does that fit in with, some of the rookies like Brevin, undrafted guy Peyton Hendershot? You're going into, year 3. Yeah. So what are you going to do there? Because had a special teams flash here or there last year, but was on IR for the most part. They got Schoonmaker. So tight end battle is going to be real interesting. I
said this the other day. If you can make an impression on Lunda Wells, that does something for you in regards to making his team, because from what I was told, Lunda Wells absolutely loved John Stevens last year, and Hendo was in trouble, and then injuries piled up, and the rest is history. But like you mentioned, John Stevens Jr., Brevin span forward. I think this is a guy that has a real legit path to this team. And I look at guys like Hendershot, like you said. I know the second round pick is going to be here, Luke Schoonmaker, so that's not an issue. But man, this is going to be a very competitive room, and whoever can get the attention of Lunda Wells, I think has a leg up to not just making the team, but potentially being a factor, even if it's at tight end 3.
I mean, absolutely. When you think about number one, think about how young the room is, but how also talented the room is. So that's just such a benefit for the Cowboys because you're led by Jake Ferguson going into only his 3rd year, and he's already one of the best tight ends in the league and has a chance this season to take another step and be one of the top 3 tight ends in the league, right up there with Kelsey and Kittle. And then behind him, you got to figure out what you got with Schoonmaker. But even if Schoonmaker is slow to get out of the gates this year, keep in mind he battled plantar fasciitis for all the training camp, so that slowed his progress. So we'll see what he is now. John Stevens, unfortunately, tore his ACL, but just an uber talented young man. So then when you got him and you got like a guy like Span Ford, it's just so much young talent that the Cowboys love here, no Drizzy. And they feel like they can take the next step without having to have a veteran, even like Sean McEwen around, who reportedly will join the Lions. But that relationship has long ended because the Cowboys believe another young guy, Princeton Fant, has essentially and effectively replaced the role of Sean McEwen. So a lot of youth here, but a lot of talent as well. A lot of question marks on someone like Schoonmaker, obviously. We'll see what John Stevens can do. But what we do know is that John Stevens has the ability to play against NFL caliber defenses because he was playing against one of the best in the league as far as practices go in training camp, and he was doing his thing. So very promising to hear that he's on schedule, or ahead of schedule, actually.
All right, let's pull that pin out of the schedule and let's take this microscope and get into the science of the Cowboys 2024 schedule, where I dubbed it yesterday the perfect schedule. Now I can be a little bit selfish here because I don't like
celebrating.
I don't like primetime games, so I love it that we don't got a bunch of them to start and they're spread it out. But I loved it, man. But can you break it down from what you from your eyes, your view, and maybe just give us a little generalization of your article?
Yeah. So first of all, folks, make sure you go to DallasCowboys.com and or go to my Twitter at Voice of the Star. Make sure you check out there where you can find the link for the whole write-up. It is a heavy one, so this is not microwave. I don't microwave for you guys. That's not what science does. So it is a 7,000-worder. You're going to have to, carve some time, put the kids to bed, finish doing what you need to do with your significant other, wink, wink, and then get to reading this. So my notable schedule quirks, first of all, there's 9 home games. That's one more home game than last year. Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, embarrassment notwithstanding, the Cowboys were and have been the most dominant home team in the entire NFL over the past several seasons. Again, the Green Bay Packers game notwithstanding. So they got one more home game. That works in their favor as far as regular season goes. 6 primetime games. I thought people were tired of watching the Cowboys still. If
Never.
That's the case, why 6 primetime? Okay, we're going to blow right past that because that tracks for the Cowboys, 6 primetime games. They have a back-to-back primetime in Week 4 and Week 5. They have no 3-game homestand. Now, last year, it was key to remember, they were brutalized by the first portion of their schedule before the bye week because they had so many road games. But on the back end, it allowed them at least one 3-game homestand. If you look at how the schedule breaks down this time around, it's not heavy in travel up front or in the back. It's a much more balanced schedule, which I absolutely love.
Yep.
Number one, as someone who feels like the Cowboys needed that balance, and it didn't work in their favor last year, so it does now. But also, as someone who travels with the team, balance is key. I like being home sometimes. No 3-game homestand, but no 3-game road trip. That's also good as well. They only have one coast-to-coast travel, and that'll be Week 8, Week 9. So they go to San Francisco Week 8. Then, of course, they come back, pit stop to do practices before Week 9, where they go to
Atlanta.
The Falcons. Yeah, they go to the Falcons. So that's the only coast-to-coast travel. Mini bye week post-Thanksgiving. Now, that's because for the first time in a while, they don't have back-to-back Thursdays. So Thanksgiving is a Thursday, and then typically in recent history, they'll have the following Thursday, but not this year. They have Thanksgiving, which is against the Giants. They're hosting at AT&T Stadium. And then they have almost 13 days before they play their next game, which is phenomenal. So those are some of the notable quirks. 6 of the 9 final games are home games. That is so heavily in favor of the Cowboys, folks. Go back and look at what that December schedule, that late November through December schedule looked like last year, and now look at what it looks like this year. to have 6 of those final 9 games at home when you know that's going to be the stretch that determines playoff seeding, division crown, things of that nature. That's so critical. So those are my main schedule quirks that I picked out before I started breaking down each opponent.
You know what else is fantastic about this? I mean, there's so many things, but you get the AFC North road teams at the beginning of the season. So theoretically, when you look at the back end of the schedule, last year they had to go travel to Buffalo, deal with that weather. You're going to have to travel to Philly in Week 17. And let's be honest, man, that's not really, to me, bad weather in Philadelphia. Now, Pittsburgh, with the lake effect snow, Cleveland, Buffalo, that's a different story. So you even avoid that. So if you can somehow get the 1 or 2 seed, which I know a lot of Cowboy fans are like, are you crazy? Then you won't have to play a cold game probably throughout the entirety of the season.
Yeah, you're not dealing with a situation like having to go to Buffalo, which turned out to not be so much the weather that cost them the game as much as it was the lack of run defense from James Cook. But still, when you look at this late November going into December schedule, okay, you're going to deal with the New York Giants. That's on Thanksgiving, but that's home at AT&T Stadium. The Bengals, guess what? You're not going to Cincinnati on December 9th. That's home at AT&T Stadium. December 15th, okay, that's a winter game, but it's in Charlotte. Right now, I know that the Carolina weather can be a bit moody, right, from my time out there. Shout out to Triangle, Queen City. But for the most part, the prediction is going to be that it's not going to be, 2 feet of snow, and it's not going to be, 15 below. So that should be favorable for the Cowboys playing at Bank of America Stadium. You come back on December 22nd at home, you got the Bucs. And then, like you said, Week 17, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. But even if that's a cold weather game, if you look at the stretch of games to end the season, if that's all you have to worry about, and in the familiar confines of the link, because it's not like you're playing an AFC team like the Buffalo Bills, whom you only play like once every 4 years, and it might be inclement weather or ice cold. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. You go there once a year, at least once a year, right? You're comfortable there. You almost won last year there, right? If not for a step out of bounds here and a knee down there, you know what I mean? So I really love how this lines up for the Cowboys.
All right, Pat, this is what we're going to do here. We got a couple mailbag questions I want you to help answer for the nation, if you don't mind, sir.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's time!
Time?
It is time for
The most electrifying move!
All right, scumbag, pay attention. It's time for mail call. You've got mail.
The most electrifying mailbag segment in all of sports entertainment. Pat, let's do it. The first question right out the gate comes from Try It Out on Twitter, and he says, what team will we take too lightly and not show up against happens every year, at least once a year? So essentially he's saying, where's the trap game at, Pat?
First of all, can we just all take a moment to acknowledge the greatness of Steele and his production abilities? Like, bro, you are something different, right? You are something different.
Appreciate you, bro.
What I would like to believe I am to writing, you are most certainly to production.
That means a lot because you are
nasty work, bro. Nasty cannon. Nasty work, bro. All right, so the trap game, the infamous trap game. There's always one, right?
Yeah.
It's Sunday, December 15th against the Carolina Panthers.
Oh.
That's the trap game. That's the trap game. Here's why it's the trap game. I know some people are saying Tampa Bay, and that's possible, but if the Bucs upset the Cowboys, it would not be nearly as much of a world shocker as if the Carolina Panthers did. The Carolina Panthers were 2-15 last season. The Cowboys went there last season, and even though they played with their food for 3 quarters, they ended up blowing them out in the end. They dropped 16 points, and 16-0 was the score in the fourth quarter to finish walking those boys like dogs. And I feel like the Cowboys are going to go into Bank of America Stadium, and it's a noon game. We know the Cowboys don't normally get out to fast starts at noon. That is just historically true with this version of the Cowboys. So it's a noon game that's not necessarily working into the favor of the Cowboys. It's an away game. The Cowboys' away record last year, yes, they beat the Panthers, but they really struggled on the road last year, as we all know. Okay, and then when you look at when this game is played, as far as who is played after. So look at the schedule. They have – this is something, man. Coming out of the bye, you got to go to the 49ers. You got to go to the Falcons. That's a coast-to-coast. We don't know what the Falcons look like. Might be a bigger challenge than some think. Bijan Robinson, London Drake. Who am I forgetting? Kyle Pitts.
Algier.
Right?
So for me, let's stay right there real quick. That's my trap game. I mean, that's my the take lightly game or whatever you want to call it, right? Because you're going to play the 49ers. So win or lose, you're either going to be extremely high off that game if you win, or if you lose, I feel like there's going to be so much pressure. And I'm not saying they'll overlook the Falcons, but let's be honest. In that tough stretch from week 6 to week 11, it's the Falcons who look like the team that you should get the dub, right? And we know the Cowboys, when they have to win, something stupid happens. So I look at the Falcons as a potential team. With Kirk Cousins, I think they're a better team. The new coaching staff over there, that could be the game right there.
Could be, but here's my logic and my science behind that. The reason I don't think the Falcons is a trap game, I think it's a game that they will get up for, because if you win against the 49ers, you know that you can't allow that to permeate because you have to go to Atlanta and you have to take that, right? And you're going against a Falcons defense that is still very much unsettled and you could take advantage of. Now, if you lose against the 49ers, then you're looking to beat the hell out of the Falcons, right? That's just fair. If you lose, particularly if you get bullied again by the 49ers, you're going to take.
And they don't lose 2 games in a row often. They did it once last year, but
so there's that as well. Correct. So that's my logic on feeling like the Falcons are not the trap game. But in all of these, 49ers, Falcons, Eagles, Texans, right? Commanders, iffy, but it's a division game, and there's added familiarity because Dan Quinn knows Mike McCarthy's offense, just like McCarthy knows Dan Quinn's defense. So we'll see. That can go either way at the moment. You got the Giants, another division game, Bengals. And then let's skip over the Panthers for a second. Then you got the Buccaneers. Maybe after you have all of those tough games and some extremely tough games in that mix, maybe you're tired and you think that you can sleepwalk against the Panthers, who were 2-15 and put up a little bit of a fight last year, but not enough that kept you from blowing them out of their own stadium. Not enough the fact that last year you accidentally disrespected them by, at kickoff, you had a Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson Ring of Honor announcement. Right? So the Panthers are remembering all of that. Trust me when I tell you, because I have friends who covered that beat, and they were telling me that the Panthers really want some revenge, not just for the loss last year, but they feel disrespected by the fact that there was a press conference going on when the game was being kicked off. So you have those intangibles as well. I feel like if you sleepwalk against the Panthers in a noon game, and those noon games are typically when Cowboys get off the slow starts, then you're going to find yourself in more than a dogfight against Bryce Young, and they've got him, at least one new offensive weapon in the first round. So, the Buccaneers, that's a playoff team, right? The Bengals, playoff team. Giants, but it's a divisional rival. Commanders, divisional rival. Texans, playoff team that is explosive on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
The Eagles, that's your other front runner to try to take the division crown from you. Falcons, that's going to be a battle. 49ers, okay, now you come down that list, and guess what? What sticks out like a sore thumb is, if you're thinking as a fan, looking at that, oh, well, at least we got the Panthers, then that's your trap game.
That makes sense. For the definition of trap game, I see what you're saying. Definitely late in that season. This is the stretch to me. I think week 12 to 18 is the Cowboys' best stretch. And obviously the weakest opponent right there is the Carolina Panthers. So it's very possible. You don't overlook that.
Add this to it. You come in, let's say you're coming off of the Bengals, which ends a stretch of very tough games, including division games. And then after the Panthers, maybe you accidentally get a little bit ahead of your skis and you start saying, okay, well, we got the Bucks following the Panthers, and then we got the Week 17 against the Eagles, which, depending on how things shook out in the first Eagles matchup, this game is probably going to determine the division in Week 17. Maybe you're looking forward to that game and you're just not taking the Panthers as seriously as you're supposed to, and that's the trap game.
We seen them do it last year where and one of the sounds of the sidelines, I think it was J-Ron Curse, was like something along the lines of, yeah, you know who we getting ready for. And it's in the middle of a game. Now, granted, it started to be a blowout, but they, players are human. They think about these type of things, and you're right. Depending what happened in week 10, week 17 could be huge.
Yeah, and they might accidentally look forward to it and pass the opponent that's right in front of them. And it's not even close. Even with the Cowboys on paper, as we have this conversation, let's be clear. The Cowboys on paper are not as good as the Cowboys of 2023. They're just not. But that being said, it's also true that they are still miles better than the Carolina Panthers right now.
Yeah.
So they should absolutely walk in there and just spank those boys. No diddy. However, when you look at how the schedule lines up, if you're looking for a trap game, my eyes keep going to that one.
Let's get to the second question from Zotan here on YouTube. He says, what's this team going to depend on more, scheme or individual performance to have greater success?
I think it's going to be individual performance. I don't think that schematically, X's and O's wise, you're going to see this drastic change from what Dan Quinn was running versus what Mike Zimmer was running. And here's why I say that. I had that belief already, but Mike Zimmer all but confirmed it when Zimmer said, because he was in
Zimmer.
In
you talking Zimmer and Dan Quinn?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
So I don't think there's going to be two. Here's what I mean by that. Mike Zimmer this week, when he was asked about the defense, he said, well, this is quote unquote, he said, this is different for me because normally when I come into a situation, the defense is bad. This defense, however, has been really good. So what he's looking to do, and these are his words, what he's looking to do is find ways to accentuate the things they have been doing well, but then correct the things they've not been doing well. So that, to me, does not sound like an overhaul schematically. Okay? So schematically, there will be changes in quirks that are Mike Zimmer-esque, and you'll be like, okay, that's clearly a Zimmer quirk. But at the same time, if you're looking for a complete overhaul, you're not going to see that schematically. I think the biggest changes are going to be what Zimmer requires individuals to do. Here's an example. The linebacker core, it kind of became an afterthought under Dan Quinn, right? Particularly, you had injury at the position, and then you lost Leighton Vander Esch to Rashaan Evans. Experiment didn't work out. You lost to Marion Overshown, unfortunately, but then, instead of really going out there, you tried with Rashaan Evans. I give him credit for that. But you stopped there, and you let a defensive back in Marquise Bell continue to try his hand at linebacker, even though it wasn't working. That's not something that Zimmer's going to do. That's why he brought in Eric Kendricks. That's why he went and got Maris Leofau in the third round. He wants to bolster that corner. They have the Marion Overshown coming back. So you're looking at, and he's going to require Mike Zimmer, he's going to require Damone Clark to take that big leap this year as well in year 3. So he's going to look at his linebackers. He's going to look them in the face, Zimmer is, and he's going to say, I need you to be the best that you can be. Follow Eric Kendricks, which is a former All-Pro. Follow his lead, and that's the standard. Then he's going to look at his defensive line, and he's going to say, okay, DeMarcus Lawrence, you're good. Keep doing what you're doing. Being the best run-stopping edge rusher in the league. He's going to look at Micah Parsons and say, okay, hi, Micah, cook. And then he's going to look on the interior. He's going to say, Oso Digizua, keep going. You're one of the best interior 3-techs in the league. But then he's going to look at the nose tackle, and he's going to know that something's not quite right there. That's why he talked about Mazi Smith putting on weight to get to their ideal weight. He won't reveal what the ideal weight is, but he's saying he's at 305 and he's climbing, trying to get to the ideal weight to move him back to nose tackle. Whereas Dan Quinn was trying him out as a 3-tech, even though he was drafted as a nose tackle, right? That experiment failed. Mazi is now on the mend from the shoulder surgery. He's getting his weight back up, and Mike Zimmer made it very clear that Mazi Smith is going to be playing for the Cowboys in much the way he played for the Michigan Wolverines. He will be that nose tackle that eats up blocks to allow the linebackers to cover and know their assignments. These are Mike Zimmer's words. So I say all of that to say still that schematically you'll see some changes here or there, but he's not looking to do a complete overhaul because the defense doesn't need a complete overhaul schematically. They were one of the best in the league for yet another season, 3 seasons in a row in both pressures and takeaways. But individually, he's going to be tasking these guys to really step up and be better than they have been. Those that need to step up.
I'm going to keep an eye on that one, man, because from everything that I've dug up on Zim, and just obviously remembering who Zimmer was prior, I don't think Dan and Zim, I don't think they have the similar schemes, number one. And one of the things I took away from Zim is he said something along the lines of, they have to do it my way. He said one thing about going into these teams is if you try to do somebody else's stuff, it doesn't work out. So I think you will. I think some of the things you were saying were definitely schematic changes, and you said there would be some scheme changes. Will it? When you say complete overhaul, I don't know. I mean, that's up for interpretation, but I do think you will see different things asked from them, which is scheme on the front line. You'll see different things, obviously, in the second level, and definitely in the secondary, because Zim is way more multiple schematically, right? And DQ was such a man,
that much I agree with.
Yeah.
So yeah, there will, like I said, there will be some changes that you look at and you say that's definitely Zimmer. Yeah, that's definitely Zimmer as far as schematics are concerned.
And Gunther. Gunther's he's a madman.
And Gunther, yeah, and Paul Gunther. Yes, he is. Mm-hmm. But when you look at Quinn, was more so. I'll give Quinn this credit. He got the Cowboys to reinvest in the safety position. But I thought he got them to reinvest in nose tackle when they traded for Jonathan Hankins and then drafted Mazi Smith, but then to turn Mazi Smith into a 3-tech build. I don't know what the hell was going on there.
I don't know.
So, but now we have Zimmer coming in, and historically Zimmer's defenses are critically sustained by elite linebacker play and elite nose tackle play and stopping the run. Zimmer said his first game as a coordinator, the pickle juice game against the Philadelphia Eagles, he got ran up on for over 200 yards because he was also a defensive backs coach, so he figured, hey, just let them do what they need to do up front. We'll take care of it on the back end. And he said ever since then, he's been stop the run first, and we'll figure everything out from there. That's a different right there, schematically, from what Dan Quinn ran, which is, okay, well, we feel like we can be good enough at stopping the run, but we're going to get all our takeaways from the secondary. Zimmer's like, yeah, we know we can get the takeaways in the secondary, but stop that run or get off my field. That's the biggest schematic change when you're talking about that. And shouts out to A.A. Ron. He said he believes I'm on hopium. I don't know anything that I said today is on hopium. I haven't given you a schedule prediction or anything. I told you a trap game was Carolina. I don't know, but, shouts out, because you either hear what I'm saying or you hear what you think I'm saying.
Oh, we can't please everybody, but A.A. Ron's he's a good one. He's a good one on the channel. So he's not just he's not just saying everything.
We talk on Twitter. He knows I'm gonna throw this back just how he's throwing it to me. No Diddy, but yeah.
Bro, stop it. Let me get my
just facts though.
Let me give my 2 cents.
And then you spin it how you want to spin it. So go Dogs, Professor O. I see you.
Let me give my 2 cents on the scheme performance. And this question is brought up because, and shouts out to Zoltan, I often bring up how important I believe scheme is, especially for this team, because I think historically throughout the years, at least through the Romo and Dak era, this team has largely been dependent on its talent, on its individual performance, with average to below average schemes. And, maybe a year defensively, you might have a really good one, like 2021. I think Dan Quinn's scheme was good, right? And then it got people caught up to it. But I'm going to play devil's advocate to my own thought process. Normally I would say, individual performances. But he said to have greater success. Greater success is more success in the postseason. And I believe once you get to the postseason, scheme, coaching, whatever the hell you want to call it, that's going to have to be more important, because we've seen the individuals are not able to overcome it year in, year out in the playoffs. So if we can have scheme be so good, I think the Cowboys have the players to complement it. If it's just going to be dependent on individual performances, I think that's so much harder to do in the playoffs, Pat. I just do.
It is. And you know why? It's because the more you lean on individual success or individual performances, particularly in the playoffs, because everything you do in the regular season is exaggerated in the playoffs, right? So if you're leaning on that in the playoffs, then more than ever in the playoffs, your play calling better be the best play calling ever.
Yeah.
If you're going to lean heavily on the individuals, because if not, if that particular individual, respected to any given play, any given position, if he doesn't handle his assignment like he's supposed to, in conjunction with the play call being questionable, then you get Jordan Love and the Packers scoring 4 touchdowns on the first 4 drives.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas if you lean a little bit less, not entirely less, because you've got some dogs. You got Trayvon Diggs, a takeaway monster. You've got Deron Bland, a takeaway monster. You got Micah Parsons. You got playmakers, right? Jordan Lewis, he can take the ball away, especially in helping with the run defense, punching the ball free, as Christian McCaffrey on the 1 yard line, so he gets that done. But at the same time, you have to have the scheme in order as well, because if the scheme's out of order in the playoffs, if you have a bad game from one or multiple individuals, the scheme might save the day for
There you go.
right? Because the scheme will help mask even some of your play calling mistakes. But if the scheme is suspect and the individuals are having a bad day and the play calling is
well, the Packers happen.
The Packers, you got me. We're right there. The Packers end up happening. So get it together.
100%, man. Hey, Pat, appreciate you joining us this morning, as always, every week, giving us the science on the schedule and answering a couple of these questions. The fans absolutely love that. So maybe we'll keep this up throughout the offseason. But sooner or later, we're going to get back to a normally scheduled program, man. And up next for the Cowboys mini camp, right?
We got OTAs.
OTAs.
OTAs start on this coming Wednesday. Veterans have already reported, effective this past Monday, they're practicing with the rookies right now. Media access for OTAs will begin next Wednesday. So you have two OTA sessions that we have access to, consecutive Wednesdays, the 22nd and the 29th. And then you have mandatory mini camp from June 4th to June 6th. And then we go into the dark space of the off season, and then we'll wake up in Oxnard at training camp. So right
next
around the
week,
corner, folks.
Next week we'll be catching up and we'll be talking about what you've seen out there at OTAs.
Yeah, we will.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Y'all don't want to miss that, man. Patrick Nosey Walker, DallasCowboys.com, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Pat, enjoy your weekend, bro.
Yes, sir. I'll holler at y'all later.
That was the Patrick Nosey Walker. If you missed it, run that thing back, man. Always delivering the science. He gave us the schedule science. He talked about a couple of the injury updates, and we answered some of the questions from the most electrifying mailbag segment in all of sports entertainment. All right, we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to come back. Got a couple callers I see in here, some long timers, and then we'll answer the final two questions in the mailbag section. So let's do it.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions.
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
Hey, Swain. So I was sitting, going through the Fire Stick or whatever, and I think it was on Max maybe. Or not Swain, I'm sorry, Jay. I saw that Yankees 1990 documentary. I'm definitely watching it. And I saw the trailer, and I felt a lot of that. But this is amazing. I didn't know this was in the documentary. Jay said he was watching the documentary, and one of the Yankees fans made a sign that said, "One owner away from a championship." Oh, dog. If that ain't where we at right now, So, man, he's not as I remember now. I don't remember Steinbrenner like that from that 90 season, but I remember and I know the history of George Steinbrenner. And they often get compared, but Steinbrenner he was more like Bob Knight in that sense. Very animated and wild and crazy and disrespectful in the media. Now, Jerry ain't far off from the type of owners they are in controlling the team, but their mannerisms, behavior are way different. Way different. But anyway, I can't wait to watch that documentary. I love documentaries. It's one of my favorite things. All right, let's jump into the phone lines, get on the horns, and rap to one of the original OGs, B Bird. What's up, brother?
What's up, Sky? What's been going on, man? I hadn't talked to you in a while. How everything been going?
Hey, it's been going great. It's the off season. I already know how it is, B Bird, with the off season. You've been doing this for a long time. You step in when you need to step in. Once the season's here, you're here. So no worries at all, big dog. And I saw your tweet, and I was waiting to see what happened with the schedule. And god dang it, we finally got a home game at the end of the year.
And I'll tell you why that's important, Scott, because of something that you realize in the schedule that I always look at. So we're a dome team. We're a passing team. Bad weather does not bode well for us. So one thing, the Cleveland game, the Pittsburgh games, being early in the year on the road, are hugely important. And I'm glad you highlighted that. That's huge. And here's the deal. The reason why I'm always concerned about that last game of the year, and I brought that up, because it's a division game. Not only that, is a division game in January in New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, which are guaranteed to be bad weather games. So not only do we not get a bad weather game, we get a home game inside of a controlled atmosphere. So it's just a win-win for us, man, on that one. But if I'll just tell people what it was, in the last 13 years or 14 years, we finished on the road 11 times and finished at home only 3 times, last game of the year. So it was always an aberration in the schedule. And I think what they try to do is they love Cowboys and conflict, and putting us on the road in a division game with something on the line is conflict.
You know,
they love that.
I wish I would have dug a little bit deeper on it, and I thought about it, but I'm like, I don't know. I wonder if it really mattered, though. You know, some of those games, because I know in 2021 it didn't. You know, the Cowboys had it wrapped up. 2022, I don't think it mattered, and I don't believe it mattered last year either. It may have. I could be wrong, y'all, but
see, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really, like, the mattering part. It's what when they're putting the schedule out, what they're thinking, because they can't really unfold the season, right? You get what I'm saying?
Well, so here's the thing.
Anyway,
here's the thing. The last game of the year, every team has to play a division opponent. So
correct.
There's a 50-50 chance you're going to play at home or play on the road. Whereas if it was random again and they decided to say, hey, we're going to give you a team from the AFC North. You play those guys every 4 years. And I believe they alternate home and away. So, you know, that way, you know, it's going to be at home depending on who the team is. But anyway, I would love to go see if at the end of the day it ended up mattering or not. But it is interesting because 11 out of 14 years is crazy. I can see if it was,
crazy
6,
that's crazy,
and 8 or something, but 11 out of 14 is wild.
That's correct. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to hop on what you and OC was talking about. I think really the defense. I think what he's talking about, the defense coordinator is talking about Zimmer, is talking about just fundamentals. And one thing that I've seen in his 2 interviews, he said, "Do your job so somebody else can be successful."
Yep.
And what he's saying is basically, I'm not putting up with hero ball. I know the assignments. If you're not doing your assignments, you're gonna hear from me. And it's gonna be on the sideline, or it's gonna be we're gonna go back to the game film and look at it, and we'll see somebody playing hero ball.
Yeah, 100%. He alluded to that in his original press conference, and I had brought this up a couple of days ago when we broke down his interview. He said something along the lines of, look, turnovers and making the plays on the ball, that's all fine and dandy, but what was the process to get there? Because if you were undisciplined, if you were wild, then you just got lucky. But if you're disciplined to the ball, you will get turnovers, and you will form kind of this muscle memory of doing it the correct way. So even if you don't get the ball, a 5-yard gain doesn't turn into a 25-yard touchdown. So I love it, man. I love that part of it, and I do think that's why I push back on Pat a little bit. I do think there is going to be a schematic difference. We'll see with the overhaul how much, but Zimmer and DQ are just totally different in what they're going to ask these guys to do up front. And then on the back end, he plays a lot more cloud coverage. He does a lot more disguising, zone blitzing. He does a lot more combo coverages, passing off. It's a totally different scheme in that sense. And I welcome it. My only, if I had to worry about a concern, because I do believe he's going to be a net positive, my only worry would be if some of these young guys can't quite get it on the back end, because it's not a scheme that's for the faint of heart. Then if injuries happen, could we be in, say if the Carson kid, love that kid, but what if he's just not ready yet and injuries happen, he gets thrust in there, and now we're facing the 2022 situation where the depth at cornerback could be tested. But that's the cynical part of it. The positive side of it, man, I think will be a net gain, and everybody will benefit from it. It's just a matter of how much. Enough to make the Cowboys a formidable team, or just enough to be a solid defense? That's the big question.
So, this is my last comment. So this will be kind of a summation of last year, and I'll tell you this. So the Cowboys last year, I think they lacked toughness. They could not grind out a win with the run game, and they were not able to stop the run. And if you can't, I was talking to somebody yesterday. I said, if you were an offense coordinator and you love the pass, but the run was getting you 6 and 7 yards a whop, I'm talking about every time, you should not pass the whole game. Because at the end of the day, man, I'm on the deal that we have to stop the run, and we have to be able to run the ball. And so I'm going into something here because this is a positive for me offseason. Really love the draft. Because if I was concerned about the run game and I'm concerned about the run defense, this is a draft for me. Some people was talking about a wide receiver. I think if you start looking at the teams that were left, and I think I gave you the stat that out of the 13 playoff games, out of the 13 playoff games, the winners, 12 of the quarterbacks threw for under 300 yards. So it was
because they're not playing catch up,
Yeah, they're playing ahead, and then the run, whoever won the rushing were 10-3 in those games. And so what I'm saying is the run game and stopping the run is still a thing in this league. Now I know they're trying to say it's a passing league, fantasy football, which I play too. Fantasy football is built on the passing game. But at the end of the day, man, if you can't stop the run and you can't run the ball, like you said, Green Bay, you're just not going to win a game, man. And teams will expose you. And I mean,
you'll win games, because it is a passing league. The problem is, like in I like to kind of liken it to basketball, and you know this, right? Doesn't your son play basketball? I know he plays football. But
I can listen.
Yeah, so and I love Okoye brought this up years ago, and I love using this example. During the regular season, the Phoenix Suns was always a problem during that D'Antoni era, right? Get the shot up within 5 seconds of the shot clock, right? High flying 3 points, up and down, fast pace. But once you get to the playoffs, all that got thwarted when they went up against the San Antonio Spurs because it slows down. Now I'm dumping it in the paint, and Tim Duncan is bang bang. His hook shot and just slowing this game down, playing hard-nosed, tough defense. And defense carries, run game travels. And I'm not saying that you have to run the ball 40 times in the playoff game. I'm not even saying you have to, have more rushes than pass attempts. What I'm saying is if you can remain balanced and not one-dimensional in the playoffs on both sides of the ball, we're going to get to that question after this, actually, then you have a way better shot than if you are one-dimensional on both sides of the ball. And the Cowboys have been that for far too long, bro. And so, they got to run the ball better, be more efficient, be more purposeful, and they definitely have to stop it on the other side of the ball. In the playoffs, like the regular season, they haven't really done either or consistently, and they've still been 12-5. It's not about the regular season for me. It's going to be about the postseason. Yeah. So in the regular season, what I'm looking for is the momentum of it. Are they building the momentum heading into the playoffs, or is it going to look like what it looked like last year heading to the playoffs?
So this is a draft. If you look at the BB and Guyton, and you look at Nealon, and the other guy, I can't remember. I can't pronounce his name. But it really was a draft not to improve ourselves in the regular season. This is to improve ourselves in the postseason, so we can run the ball a little bit. Because just like you said with the Suns, that's all great. But when you start facing better teams, you start facing a different game plan. We have to have something else. And I think with Dak, man, we've been asking a lot of him. I know some people might not like this, but no one asks as much of their quarterback in the playoffs as we do. And I say, and so if we got a running game that we can say, let's run the ball, get the tempo going, let's slow things down, let's get 4 or 5 yards here, get some first downs, move the ball down. Settle that. We had no settle.
Now, what you're talking about, though, is something that these young men in the draft have no control over. In the long run, because B-Bird, I'm not relying on rookies to get us over the hump in the postseason. That's not going to be. That's not the expectation. That's not up to them. What you're talking about coaching. You could bring in Larry Allen. You could bring in Eric Williams. You could bring in Andre Garrard, Leary, and Tyron Smith in his prime. If Mike McCarthy does not seriously take the running game serious in the playoffs and try to be balanced, it won't matter. It won't matter.
Yeah.
And I think it's not, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but it's unfair to ask Tyler Guyton, who is not a good run blocker right now. He's way better pass blocker. And Cooper Beebe, who's transitioning to center, and I think he'll do fine. I think it's unfair to say, hey, you guys are going to be responsible for making this rushing offense better in the postseason. They're not. It's going to be Mike McCarthy. Because if he's able to take it serious, then that's going to help everybody out. If not, and you're just, you don't really care about the run game in the playoffs, then like you said, now we're asking Dak to do way more than I think any quarterback every year in the postseason has to do since 2018.
Hey, I got a question I'm going to get off. You can answer. So do you think, because that's the big thing, do you think that Mike McCarthy will dedicate, to the run game like he should, right? Because we got Zeke back, we got these other guys. Can he do that? And I'm gonna get off and listen to the answer.
Appreciate it.
I'll get off and answer.
Appreciate you, B-Bird. I kind of jumped ahead on a question. Let me see where we at. It's a fantastic conversation there. So I'm gonna actually jump ahead on a question here. Let me see. I think I got it. And get into this mailbag. But to answer your question, do I believe that? I'm not gonna sit here and lie. No. Like, that's why I am stressing. I have to see how are we looking and how are we doing it heading into the playoffs, that last quarter of the season. Because that's not McCarthy's MO. And coaches don't change their stripes after 26, 36 years in the league. So, he's got to show me. But let me get to this question in the mailbag. Because it kind of pertains to what we were talking about here. And the question came from Chaz Reese. And Chaz says, what can the Cowboys do differently to be better prepared in the postseason? And my answer, a pretty lengthy one, but it's kind of, I'm going to repeat some of the things I've said already. I feel like to be better prepared, they have to set the table in that last quarter of the season. Well, what do you want them to set the table for? To avoid being one-dimensional. And that goes for both sides of the ball. On offense, when you look at last year, that last quarter of the season, specifically against Buffalo, Miami, and Detroit, Dallas averaged 82 yards per game on the ground, and they were 3 for 7 in the red zone. Had 2 turnovers down there. You cannot go into the playoffs like that. You cannot go into the playoffs basically telling us and your team, look, man, we can't run, or we refuse to take it seriously, and we suck in the red zone right now. So those two things are huge in advancing offensively in the postseason. You got to be able to run it more efficiently and more purposefully, and you have to be better in the red zone. On the defensive side of the ball, well, how can they be one-dimensional defensively? Well, they've been one-dimensional defensively for a long time, especially under Dan Quinn. You can't go into the playoffs and solely rely on sacking the damn quarterback, or if you're not sacking them, pressuring it for interceptions. Can't do it. Because guess what? What if you get out schemed and you can't get to the quarterback? And you can't stop the run? The Packers have it. And I'm not going to leave out the front office because that part is about the staff and the players, right? The staff has to set them up and the players have to either execute or overcome the coaching if it's not a good game plan, if it's not good coaching. But I'm not leaving out the front office because they play a hand in this as well. They need to make sure they leave no stone unturned, whether that be at the trade deadline, whether that be, post-trade deadline throughout the wire, free agency heading into the postseason, whatever. No more Lyle Collins signings. That was absolutely pointless. Who cares about signing Lyle Collins if you're not going to play him? I mean, I'm not saying they needed to, but I just look at it. What's the point of that? Do you really care about bringing in players here that are going to help you in the postseason? So if they see either an issue on the team, they need to go to the trade market and help it. No pussyfooting around the trade deadline. Make it. Or if they see, okay, we have been playing really good, but let's not just sit on our hands here. Let's add a strength on a strength. Go do it. But what I don't want to hear once you get around there is, you know what? We believe in this guy, this second, third year or rookie guy who has not shown you for 8 or 9 weeks that he's going to take the next step. But we believe he will when the lights are the brightest. Yeah, this rookie. Yeah, you know what? Just give him time. By the time we get to the postseason, he's going to be the reason we get over the hump. Hey, you gotta trust us here. Carl Davis, by week 15, he's going to be all right, y'all. No, I don't want to hear none of that. So this is kind of a threefold answer here. Offensively, defensively, you cannot be one-dimensional. So they got to set the table to be better. That can help them be better prepared. And then the front office, every damn year, you know, we're asking them to make. Look, I'm not saying you got to go out here and trade for Christian McCaffrey, but look, I appreciate what Jonathan Hankins and what's the dude's name? T.Y. Hilton did, but come on, y'all. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I got too much music playing here. Like, come on. That's where we going? Jonathan Hankins and T.Y. Hilton are your significant additions over the last 4 years under Mike McCarthy at the deadline. When you go look at your competition, they're not playing with y'all. We're not playing here. Now, whether that work out or not, it's the attempt. And that's why I always say we could kiki and hee and laugh at all these teams when things don't work out. But guess what? As a fan, if I'm a fan of that team, I know I am at an advantage over you around that time because I know we're going to make a move or attempt to make a move. You're not. You're going to sell me a guy who is 14 years in the league and hasn't been playing. He made a great catch against Philly, and that you're going to sell me that. That's what they're going to do. So I felt like I had to bring that question up because we were kind of talking about a lot of that with B Bird. So good stuff there. Great call, B Bird. And appreciate the question. Who was that? Appreciate the question. Chaz Reese. All right. I'm not going to go crazy on the phones today, but I can't remember who came in here. I think Bishop Kane might have came in. So let me get Bishop real quick, and then we'll get to the last question. Good morning, Bishop Kane.
What's up with it, Scott?
What's going on?
Man, chilling, man. I just want to appreciate the service here. I want to piggyback on you. Like about that NBA comparison. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like these NBA playoffs, they're some of the best playoffs in the league. And I'm like, I see that the refs letting them play, and you got to be physical in the playoffs. That's the same thing as in the NFL. Like the refs be calling all type of stuff during the regular season. Everybody want to pass the ball. Everybody want to, like you said, with the Suns comparison. And the playoffs, you got to play physical.
Yep.
You have to play physical. That's like if you can't play like it's going on with the Thunder right now. They can't play physical with the Mazi. They can't out physical us. That's why we whooping on them like this.
Yeah, the game slows down from top to bottom, man, because I think the emphasis on game. And look, I'm not discrediting emphasis on game plan throughout the regular season because most teams get the same amount of time, but it's now do or die. So all the stops are being pulled. You know, throughout the regular season, teams don't show everything. I mean, look at the Cowboys. They had this arrogance about them last year. Well, you know what? We're going to slowly roll out this new offense. Hey, we're going to go into San Francisco. Well, we're not going to do the things that we do best just yet. That's arrogant. And if you get too comfortable with that, by the time you get to the end of the season, you're kind of going back into bad habits. And then when you get to the postseason, that's exactly what happened with Dallas. They went right back into their bag of bad habits. So maybe in year 2 things change for them. But yeah, man.
Yo, for sure, man. And my last thing before I go, man, I'm 100% with you, but we cannot keep sitting on our hands during the season that they trade there, man.
No.
The people who pushing for Super Bowls, man, And I don't know, in the last couple of years, man, we've been seeing big.
In closing, Bishop King, because it's really hard to hear you, bro. I don't want to do this to the fans listening.
Okay. I'll listen.
All right. Yes, sir. My bad for cutting you off like that, but it was becoming bad radio, as they say. Yeah, man, we absolutely cannot. So do I expect them to do? No, I don't. But that's just that, and that ain't me being, doom and gloom. I know that's the big thing here. Like, I think this team is going to be a double-digit win team, but just like last year, don't care about the regular season. The only thing I care about, I care about the regular season. I care more about how in the regular season. We'll come on here. Cowboys will win some weird game or multiple weird games. And listen, I'm going to be hype. I'm still a Cowboy fan at heart. But I'm going to emphasize the how every week. How did we do this? Let's not ignore the signs. Because, look, if you're a homer, you're a homer. That just is what it is. No knock. We need those too. But if you ignore the signs, we're going to get to the playoffs and having not discussed these things, and next thing you know, the Packers happen. So I'm watching for signs. I'm watching for the real momentum. I know this sounds crazy. The win-loss is not the real momentum. It's not. I promise you it's not. Cowboys had a huge dub against the Lions. Blew out the Washington football people heading to the playoffs. Did not matter. And we ignored the signs in the Detroit game. They couldn't run the ball. The blocking was atrocious. The play calling was outrageously bad. But Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. You know what I'm saying? The play calling defensively on the other side. We won the game. Probably shouldn't have, but we won the game. Awesome. Jimmy Johnson, baby. He's in the Ring of Honor. The Cowboys they're in a driver's seat for number 2. But how? The how looked just like the other 2 losses you had in the previous 3 weeks. Man, what amazing game beating the Seahawks. Dak Prescott MVP, sure. 30,000 points. Boy, that Geno Smith tore you up, though, didn't he? How? You're not going to blow everybody out. But there is something to the how. And I refuse to ignore it. Refuse to ignore it this year. We'll break it all down. We'll talk about the good things. But y'all know how we do. Tape Tuesdays and things like that. Are we building the right momentum heading into the playoffs? All right, let's get to the final question in our mailbag segment. And it comes from our guy, Lil TJ, over on Twitter. He says, can Sam Williams be a 6 to 8, maybe even 10 sack guy under Mike Zimmer? Yeah. Absolutely. I definitely believe that. He was a 4 to 5 sack guy in Dan's Wild Wild West scheme, where his playtime was sporadic. Now his opportunities are going to be more, right? They're going to be plentiful. Mike McCarthy said he's the first guy up. We looking at you, Sam. So, between 6 to 10 sacks, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. It's not about the physical. It's not about the ability. He has the ability. He has the size. He fits the mold for a Dan Quinn system. 6'4", 260, right? Maybe more by now. So he fits a prototypical right defensive end, actually, in a Mike Zimmer scheme. Now, it's about making sure he's disciplined enough, making sure that he plays within the system. He's taking on Coach Scanina and Coach Zimmer's coaching, right? Because we saw Sam, running Twitter and free me and all that stuff. Never mind. I'm gonna keep that to myself. No, what? No, I'm not. Coach Dirty. I would love to have an off-record conversation with some of those guys. Like, man, he's a great guy. British villain, awesome. From everything that we understand, good coach. But did they fear him? You know what I'm saying? Dan Quinn. Great guy. My homie. Uncle Dan. But did they fear him? I don't care how, and let me bring y'all back here. I think I saw Foots in the chat. Foots, you a coach. But you coach kids. I know things are different. But most of us came up in a completely different era. And these are professionals. So I honestly, part of me does not care about the feelings of how they're being coached. There is a fundamental part of coaching that I think needs to be a little bit fearful. It just is, man. I'd argue the same thing with parenting. Nah, Foots, for real, Foots. You coaching the kids. It's different, bro. You can't put fear in these kids nowadays. These parents is wild. Ain't nobody's mama coming on the practice field with these professionals. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, bro. I coached kids at AAU, and I said, oh, this is BS. Never again. Y'all don't want us to really coach these kids. Y'all want us to baby them and pacify them and things like that. Now, and I get it. You can still coach and be like Tony Dungy. But there's got to be a little bit of, like, I mean, maybe because that's how I grew up. Like, I'm gonna use an example here. I always say this. I give advice to some of the mamas out there, some of my mama friends that have boys. I'm gonna tell you this right now before they hit the age. There's going to come a time where your son, he ain't gonna fear you no more. That's just facts. You respect your mom. You're gonna continue to do that if you were raised right and you ain't crazy. But fear, that goes by the wayside as a young man, as a boy at a certain age. But your daddy, totally different story. There's gonna come a time where mom gonna say, "Let me get your dad." Wait, mom, wait a minute now. Let's figure this out. Let's figure this thing out. And that's why I said I kind of compare a little bit to parenting, because there has to be some fear. There has to be some, you do this wrong, sit your ass down, and you hear the players. We're gonna get accountability now. Oh yeah. We let too many things slide. Players shouldn't be saying that. The hell you mean we let too many things slide? But anyway, you feel me though, Foots? I don't know how you do it, man, because I know these parents be on y'all heads. Maybe you got a good group though. Exactly. Foots says Zimmer isn't interested in being their friend. That's the best part of it. He cares about them, but Zimmer is in his 60s. He's about these guys doing the job the right way. Facts. All right, look, appreciate the questions. So there was another question from Toxic where he asked about, is the scheme changing and things like that. The reason why I didn't include it, because we just don't know. That's something that we'll find out once we get down to camp and whatnot. So instead of that question, Toxic Tom, you close us out with a Toxic Tom take. What's good, brother?
Good morning, Sky. Actually, first thing I want to say is thank Chaz Green, who gave that question earlier. And just want to say you have been on fire today.
Oh,
everything you've been saying, even about the Rockets and the Spurs, because you're driving home a subject that isn't nearly talked about enough, and it's the how and the why, two more important than the what is actually happening. And I hear people like that last question about Sam Williams. When I was a young sergeant in the Army, I met plenty of guys that had the physical traits to be a great soldier, but the thing that was holding them back was the issue between their ears. And that is something that cannot be harped enough. And when I hear guys like Sam Williams, who makes more of an impact with Dallas-Fort Worth police than he does with this team, I'm sorry, man.
Hey, and then Toxic, you got the owner, president, general manager.
I agree.
Coach, assistant, and promotional elitist. You got him saying, well, he did a little bit better because he was going slower. Hey, dog. Yeah, come on. Hey, shut up, man. Don't say nothing like that. Let these coaches handle that because clearly this ain't going to work out if you're going to just let him do whatever the hell he wants.
I agree. And you are hitting on another great point. You can only coach somebody who wants to be coached. And that is the most infuriating lesson I had to learn when I was like 20 and 21. I had soldiers that I was in charge of that were older than me. And I realized really quickly, the guys and gals, that's like, okay, this guy right here has a great chance to have a great career. I'm going to dedicate more time than this worthless sack of shit that's just waiting to get out and just go be a burden on society. I hate to be that crude, but when you're evaluating people, it's a really hard life lesson that there's some people that are just going to piss away their talent, and there's people that are just going to work their ass off that are nowhere near as talented, and you're just going to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
That is something that when I see with this team, Sam Williams has all the talent in the world. I just don't think right now he is mature enough that he wants to be that great. How effing bad do you want to be great? You hear Tyler Smith and you hear Guyton talk, those are men. They sound like professionals. They know what their business is. And I hear other guys like Kelvin Joseph. I heard Kelvin Joseph talk one time on a podcast, and it was like listening to a teenager. Just no maturity. I hate to be that crude, but it's a man's game, and to play a man's game, you got to pay a man's price.
Well, I'll say this,
and I just don't think. Go ahead.
On
Go
that
ahead.
with him, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes with him this offseason. Like we kind of did before, because he was putting behind the scenes in front of the scenes, right? He was getting in trouble, in the media and crashing his car and speeding, all these other things. If we have a quiet off season from Sam, I think that's a good thing. The hope. Here's my thing, Toxic. I don't care for his physical jump in year 3. He was plenty physically talented. I care about, like you said, the maturity jump. If he can, and I think. I think naturally he will. When will it happen? We'll see. Naturally he'll mature because that's just the way it is in life. You have to mature as you get older, especially being a professional athlete. I'm just hoping it's this year, because if that's the case, Sam Williams can be a formidable player for you. But if he doesn't mature, then like you mentioned in regards to your Army comparison there, you could be all that brawn, but you basically just, what is it, Tarzan, but play like Jane?
Yep. And that's and that's what it boils down to. And the other thing I'll say is, when I was in Afghanistan, when it comes to planning, we learned about dynamic versus static planning. And this is what Chaz was harping on. It feels like our team has a very static plan, and it all starts from the day we lost to Green Bay. It feels like we have a plan, and then we're not very malleable as the offseason progresses. We just go, this is our plan, we're going to stick with it. When in reality, the season is a lot like, not show my background, is a lot like the stock market. There are so many variables, and for you to be like, this is our plan week 1, we're just going to see it through to week 17 is foolish. And when I see the way we approach problems and how we don't deal with them, and we have zero foresight, and it just seems like we are just I don't even know how we have toes anymore, because we just keep shooting ourselves in the foot, reloading, and just keep firing again. And we just keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. And I just look at what Chaz is bringing up, and for things to be changed, and we really look at the how, like you said with the scheme, our front office doesn't even look at the how. And we're expecting our coaching staff to now worry about the how more about specific things. And this is why I'm just so down on this team, because it just feels like that it's 1995. This is the way we're going to do Dallas Cowboys football. We're going to do it our way. Well, dude, your way hasn't worked in 30 freaking years. And nobody, I think Steve Young said this, nobody cares that you're the Cowboys anymore. Nobody. And now we have a Netflix special coming out that's just going to beat the drum to show how one man got in the Hall of Fame by riding someone else's coattails. But it just seems like that we just are stuck in our own way. And that's why, like, when I call him Fat Garrett, because I just don't think he is capable or empowered enough to be able to make the changes that need to be changed so we can be a dynamic, week-by-week, adaptable, malleable football team. That has been our weakness. God, since Christ was a child, it feels like.
I asked for a toxic take, and Tom, you spit in there on that last, but definitely that last one. I definitely don't think he's empowered to do that. He has to work within the confines of a certain structure that is not seen across probably sports, but definitely in the National Football League, and that's why I'm hard on the coaches when I need to be, but I never fully solely pin it on them because they have to operate like no other. And that's difficult. And I don't think they've hired exceptional coaches in that manner. And I think McCarthy's a good coach in this league. I don't think he's a transcendent coach. I don't think he's one of those coaches that's going to take. Look, I hate to say it, but I don't think he's Shanahan. I don't think he's McVay. I don't think he's any of those type of coaches. But he's a quality guy. Jason Garrett, I think he was average at best, most of the time below average. But he's not one of these transcendent type coaches. And until you empower those type, who was, and you ran him out the building. Jimmy, who was, and you ran him out the building. Bill, and I think ever since Bill, we had this conversation a bunch of times. They never want to go back to that because that means that it's no longer the way it looks right now. Jerry Jones, general manager, but we know behind the scenes, it's a lot of people putting their hands on it. But publicly, it still looks like Jerry. That was never the case with Jimmy and Bill. You knew those dudes were making a ton of these personnel decisions. And yes, Jerry signed off on some back in the day. Don't get me wrong. But Parcells rebuilt this team, right, into a formidable opponent. And then Jerry, I don't want Terrell. Well, I'm getting them. And that was a wrap. You kind of ruined that part of it. But anyway, man, we're kind of getting off track. I appreciate you calling in, Toxic. I knew we was going to get a good one.
Once again, Sky, thanks. Everyone hit the like button. I promise you, I don't even have cable anymore. If you want to know real X's and O's, real football, watch Lombardi, Sky, and Foots, the Holy Trinity. These three will break this game down for you, ways that you will never hear about the three-letter networks.
Heavy.
It's about the how, not about the what. Y'all have a great weekend, especially Ryan Nall. Get your butt back here.
I was waiting for it, man. Appreciate you, Toxic. I was waiting for the Ryan Nall. You got to be original OG to know about Ryan. Ryan Nall, 2021? Still talking about that? Maybe 2022. I don't know. Man, good stuff. I saw AA Ron. Let me get to the super chat. I think that's the only one today.
Super chat.
So let's get to it. AA Ron dropped, and he's kind of echoing what Toxic just said, and I appreciate the kind words. He said, agree with Toxic. You were on one today. Hard to know what I did with my mornings 3 years ago. Without this quality of a show, keep digging. Man, that means a ton. Seriously, man. I don't even feel like I'm at my peak. I definitely know I'm not at my peak. I know that for a fact. But I don't even feel like I'm at the middle. I always still feel like it's weird when people put me in these, bring up Law, bring up Vosh, and I'm just like, shit, I still feel new. So I still feel like I got something to prove every single time. So I appreciate y'all, and I'm going to continue try to give y'all this quality content, not just production-wise, but takes as well. I always tell you, I can't fake the funk, man. I the TMZ stuff, the clickbaity stuff, the 4-letter, 3-letter network stuff. Me personally, it doesn't move me that way. And if it doesn't move me, you'll notice that through my stuff. So that's why I do the show the way I do the show. But there's so many creators now in this community. I don't need to do it. There's so many other people that you can go to get quality stuff if you're looking for that type of content, man. So, yeah. With that said, I apologize for I know a lot of y'all are on the horn, but fams here and whatnot. Can't get to all y'all. Will be here all day, so my bad. Usually I try to run through, and get everybody I can, just not today. So I got you Monday though. Call in Monday. We will see what happens over the weekend if anything does happen for the Cowboys. If not, we'll probably start a different series. Actually, in fact. I just realized this the other day. Man, I love doing a rating draft series, but it's over. It's over. I don't normally do all the picks. What I'll do is I'll tie Flournoy, Justin Rogers, Nate Thomas all into one bundle. But we're going to start State of the Unit. Can't wait for it. And if you don't know about State of the Unit, we take each unit and we post-draft, post-free agency, look at where it's at, the current and the future of it, and it should be fun. All right? On your way out, please do me a favor if you enjoyed today's show. Hit the like button. That's, as Vach would say, our virtual currency. If you missed out on what we did earlier, Patrick No C Walker jumped up in here on the scientific method and, as always, delivered. And then we jumped into the mailbag segment, or should I say, the most electrifying mailbag segment. Trying to change the game, man. Trying to change the game. When we get in Vach and Sky shows again, there are things in the work. I'm not at liberty to even discuss any types of details because there's a whole lot that has to happen between now and then. But there are things in the work, and it'll be much bigger than what you saw via the volume. Also, things in the work with the wrestling podcast. So all of these things are moving. I'm never sitting still. I'm never sitting on my hands. I tell you that. That's for damn sure. I'm never sitting on my hands. So there's always something I'm working on, something up my sleeve, and eventually that will be showcased either here or via another show. All right. With that said, make sure y'all go and follow my guy Vach. Foster King was in the building as well. Law, Koye, all the fantastic creators we got out here pouring their hearts into this content for y'all. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and press this button. It's Friday, man. What y'all doing this Friday? Remember, we used to do this. I forgot to do my off the field, but we used to do the Feel Good Friday. Planet of the Apes. Trying to go see that. They just opened up this ridiculously new movie theater. I mean, when I say walking distance, but I can literally, it take me probably 10 minutes to walk down to this movie. I mean, it's amazing. Me and my wife already went. They got the games outside. They got what do they call it? The XD or something where it's you can watch on all three sides. You got the main and the two sides. They got obviously the arcades and stuff. I mean, they got an escape room in there. I mean, it's crazy. They got a VIP level. So we want to go check out the Planet of the Apes. If anybody saw it, is it worth it? You know what? I don't care if you think it's worth it. I'm still gonna go see it anyway. But I've been seeing some good takes on it. So, son graduating kindergarten. Shouts out to Grande Poppy and congratulations to your son, man. So that's a big step. Elementary school now. Them half days is gone. Half days is gone. Toxic said it's worth it. I'm in there. Hold on, Mr. Dika is about to beep. All right, look, hey, Mr. Dika say answer the damn phone. Let's get Mr. Dika on the way out, Mr. Dika. How you doing this morning? And thank you for calling.
Hello, Sky. I got an issue with this damn chat room. I'm sorry.
Hey, chat, y'all better get it together. What they do, Mr. Dika?
Let me tell y'all something in this damn chat room. They come in this room every damn day from Monday through Fridays. And we always asking y'all to hit the goddamn like button, excuse me. Hit that damn button. It makes no damn sense.
Mr. Dick, I appreciate you. You getting them in order. Y'all heard what you said.
This man giving all this goddamn content. Y'all can't appreciate him by hitting the damn like button? Come on, hell on. That makes no damn sense.
Thank you, Mr. Dika. Hey, what you got going on this weekend, Mr. Dika?
I'm about to chill the hell out.
That's
I'm so mad with this damn chat room. Y'all just frustrates me sometimes. You want to sit there and talk to this yang bullshit? Hit the like button. I'm talking to yang.
Hit the like button. Hit the like button, y'all. Y'all heard what Mr. Dika said. Well, thank you so much for calling in and setting them straight, okay?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You enjoy your weekend, all right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sky, congratulations on the newborn.
Thank you so much. Y'all probably heard him crying, so.
Oh, I didn't hear him. And give the wife my regards.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let me tell you something. I know I said earlier, you know, sons get to a certain point where they ain't scared of their mom. By the way, love your mom, but I got to that point. She probably listening. I know my brother did. He was a menace. I don't know, man. Might have been scared of Mr. Dika. Hey, Mr. Dika might have. I don't know, man. I don't know. Nah. Look, never mind. Maybe I'll share the story, man. Let me just say this. Mom Duke's part Italian, so it wasn't that I ain't think she might have did something to you. It's just that as you get older, like, the hit don't hurt as much, you know. Punishment became a thing I feared more. And I'll leave it at that. Love you, Mom. All right, man, get out of here. Y'all getting too much going on. Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button. Mr. Digger whooping ass. Shut the goddamn door. You're letting out all the air conditioning. What am I cooling outside? That's Mr. Digger. You either in, you're out. I can't get nothing to drink. Love y'all. Enjoy your Friday. Peace. And get out the boat. Facts, AG. I give you something to cry about. You already did, Mom. Damn. How about the kitchen is closed? Oh, at my dad's crib, the kitchen is closed. And I'm like, how you gonna close the kitchen? I can see it right there. I can walk down. It closed? Yeah, dog.